Welcome. This is Leading with Spirit, the show that gives you an in-depth look at topics like what it takes to navigate your spiritual journey, how to heal yourself and grow your spiritual gifts, and balanced practices to expand your business and your spiritual leadership. I'm your host, Spirit Bird, shamanic teacher, healer, and author, here to guide you on your journey to becoming your most potent spiritual leader. If you are interested in shamanism or maybe psychedelics, perhaps you've been on a healing journey or you just love learning about spiritual growth and spiritual wisdom, then at some point you will probably encounter a shamanic journey. And today I want to share with you a little bit more about what that is, what that means, and how it can really help you, especially if you are interested in venturing into the world of psychedelics. So it's interesting. So this was one of the first pieces that I learned along my path with shamanism. And when I was taught to shamanic journey, I really quickly realized that it's something that I had been doing for a long time anyway. It's something I kind of stumbled upon in learning about meditation. And because oftentimes when I would meditate, I would actually just flip into journey and I didn't realize that I was doing a thing. And so there's a really good chance that you do this naturally anyway. Again, it's part of being human. A lot of the components that you find in shamanism and shamanic abilities are actually not that hard to access yourself because it's just part of being human. It's not actually some special thing that we acquire. It's just innate, natural part of being human. And so even if you've been separated from nature for a long time, there's still a really good chance that you'd be able to access these abilities really quickly. So I've shared a little bit, I probably haven't shared explicitly, but I sort of had parallel paths for a long time between shamanism and psychedelics. So I actually was, I ventured into psychedelics as a young person, partially from party culture, although I did write an essay about the benefits of a psychedelic experience when I was in high school before I'd ever actually done psychedelics. And then around a few years later is when I actually jumped right in headfirst into my shamanic training. So I think I was 22 or something at the time. And so there was a little bit of overlap where I was still kind of playing with psychedelics when I started my training. And then I didn't for a while. And then I stumbled on, then I started journeying myself. I stumbled on psychedelic journey. So there's a difference between shamanic journey and what we would call psychedelic journey, but actually the process is the same. And I'm going to get more into this, but this is why I find it so helpful and so important if you know how to shamanic journey before you do psychedelics. It will help your experience be a lot more manageable, and you'll be able to process and understand what's happening and probably get a little bit further. So for me at the time, when I was kind of in these parallel paths, I started working with psychedelics on my own. I actually kind of stumbled into how to use them in an intentional way. I knew people did it, but at that point, it wasn't really very forward facing. I didn't know that people actually facilitate other people this way. I knew that, people did it in the 60s and people do it recreationally now. I had actually just learned how to use them for myself, for my own healing process, and really for exploration and being able to understand different parts of consciousness. So I would take psychedelics alone in my room quite often. And then I put them down for a while and I continued on my path with shamanism. And I also kind of got into this spot where it was I had the experiences and at this point understood that you can access the supernatural, the incredible experiences that sometimes psychedelics help you unlock, that you can access those without using psychedelics too. So please know if you happen to be listening to this and you're interested in unlocking certain things, but you're not sure that psychedelics are right for you, you absolutely do not have to do them. It is that they are a really incredible tool, but they are not required to access this stuff. And in fact, for me, personally, my experience with psychedelics where they've helped me grow is I already had that open. My access to the spirit realms and the cosmic and the upper world and all of the spiritual beings, that veil has always been really thin for me. actually what psychedelics have helped me do is actually come down into myself, embody myself, and actually be here in the 3D. So I know that's not shared very often, but that's a whole nother reason that this path can be really valuable. But I'm getting on a tangent. So I put it down for a while, and I was like, actually, like, using psychedelics is kind of cheating, because we can actually do this stuff without, you don't need them. And this is again where I started to dive deeper into shamanic journey. Um, and so in general, I'll kind of give you the gist of what shamanic journey is. So where it's different than meditation is, instead of the intention to sort of like hold your focus on one thing and watch, like, observe what happens around you, the intention for journey is to have an intention and then follow your awareness, follow the information, the signs, the things that come into your awareness. Again, so where meditation, you sort of observe it passing you, and journey, you actually follow those trails and see where they take you. And there is a specific practice for this. If you want to know more about that, you can download my free guide of 5 Steps of the Shamanic Journey. I have that on my website, and also on my bio if you're on one of my social media channels, or DM me and I'll send it to you. So in the practice, there's like a process for going into one of the spirit realms. There's practices for how to do that safely, how to know where you are when you're doing that. And then you would state your intention, and you would go on this journey where the spirit world will then help you, interact with you. Maybe they'll give you a gift. Maybe they'll take you to a past memory. Maybe they'll give you a spontaneous healing. All kinds of things can happen there. And then, so you get to have that experience. And then when you come back integrated with like a new understanding of something, or a new perspective that you didn't see before, or being healed. And then this is the same process that shamans use when they're connecting with the spirit realm to help you through your healing process. It's pretty much the same thing. So usually a drum is involved with shamanic journey. And the reason for that, well, there's 2 reasons. Well, there's one reason. One version is how science explains it, and the other is how spirituality explains it. So traditionally the drum is used because it's actually the heartbeat of the earth. And so when we listen to the drum, we can align ourselves with the heartbeat of the earth. And in that way, we're able to actually listen to the earth. And this is how we can connect to the spirit realms, and learn more this way. The way science explains it, and both are true, is actually the monotonous beat of the drum. So most of the time in drum journey, you'll hear, I mean, it can be done a lot of different ways, but what's common is to hear this like monotonous beat. And the reason for that is that helps you access the theta wave state. And so this is like the intuitive state, sort of the dreamy state, where you can access information intuitively versus through the rational brain, through the rational mind. So it's like a whole nother way of using our consciousness. So and also you don't necessarily need a drum to do this journey. And also just because, you can actually, if you're watching this on video, you can see one of my buffalo drums on the wall. Just because somebody is drumming doesn't mean that it's a journey. So I want to be clear about that. While the drum has its own healing powers, that's just a drum. It's not actually a shamanic drum. That's just a drum. What makes it shamanic is if you're using it for shamanic purposes, if the shaman is actually drumming, if they're guiding you on a journey, or if you're guiding yourself on a journey. So just a little FYI. And so you should know that, because also you can journey without a drum. You can do something as simple as using sticks. Patting your heart. And you could do it without actually needing it at all. In fact, when you begin, I definitely recommend using a drum or a recording of a drum. And again, I have recordings on my website. You can access that. As you practice it more, then you'll find you need less preparation just to be able to access that state and access that way of being kind of on the spot. But when you start, I recommend preparation is maybe even more important than the actual experience. So to prepare, traditionally you would do this through singing and dancing or drumming, through movement, through moving the body and moving the energy, so that you can kind of get out of your head and into your body and let your body do what it does. And then from there, again, you walk through a specific process to access the spirit realm based on the intention. Your intention can be asking for healing, asking for information about things, asking for safe passage, learning about consciousness. It can be really anything. And then the last piece that I think I want to name about journey is that once you access this, again, then you're able to connect to the spirit realms a little bit more quickly. And also you start to just naturally interact with life in a different way because you'll start using this part of consciousness that doesn't normally get used. You'll begin to see in your everyday life the way life and spirit is interacting with you on a regular basis. And as you get good at shamanic journeying, then you'll get used to and better at being able to process and understand the messages. And same thing that applies directly to life. Then you're able to understand and interact with life in a way where you can find and understand its messages and see how it's actually really working to support you. Moving back to psychedelics. So along my journey, I'd put them down for a while, and then I took them recreationally again, which I hadn't done in a while. I was out in public. I was at a big show. I knew I shouldn't do it. Like, I remember when I was offered them, I remember like holding them and hearing that like, nope, you shouldn't do this. But I ate them anyway. And I had a horrible experience. I just wasn't in a safe space. I was with somebody that I didn't feel like I could trust to take care of me and to get me where I needed to be. And so I was like on hyper awareness. And it was not a great experience. And so then I put them down again, like for a while, where I was like, not touching those, until years later, I suddenly had this ping that was like, it was time to work with them again. I suddenly felt the call to ayahuasca. I knew I was pretty clear for myself, that was an experience to take lightly. And also it was pretty clear for myself that I wanted to do it in the United States, that I didn't actually want to leave the country to do it. Long story short, that launched me into training to work with that. And now I facilitate. And in that process, then I began to get plugged into the community of people that either use them for their own personal healing and personal growth or facilitate. And that's when I started to learn that actually people call that shamanic journey. So what I had learned is people would refer to using psychedelics as journeying, or being journeyed. And I was like, oh my God, I had never even heard that. I'd never even heard shamanic journey being used in any other way than from traditional shamanic drum journey. But of course it makes sense, because the way the plants work with you is the same way that your consciousness works when you are shamanic drum journeying. And so this is why I find that working with the drum is super, super helpful if you're going to work with psychedelics at all, because psychedelics is such a vast space. And having that foundation of like how to ask for what you need, how to interact with the plants or the spirits, and also how to follow the flow and understand like what is important, what is a good direction to follow versus what is a tangent, what is real versus what is illusion, and really like how to get the most out of your experience. And so again, if you're interested in psychedelics, if you haven't worked with them before, I would say actually start with Shamanic Journey. It's just going to make your experience so much different. And you're going to probably enjoy it a lot more because you're going to understand sort of the vibe and how it works. And it's also a great way to continue to do the work in between plant medicine experiences. So I love plants as medicine. I love psychedelics as medicine, but I also love not needing them as medicine. And so when you work with psychedelics, they're actually in your body. Even if you work with a practitioner, like because I've trained for so long with psychedelics, what you get from being in my shaman school is kind of similar. Like some of the healing techniques that I teach you are similar to the way that the psychedelics work. So you can actually have an experience very similar to psychedelics through working with somebody who has worked with psychedelics. So if you have had a plant medicine experience, then it's going to be in your body. So then actually in between plant medicine ceremonies, you can do shamanic journey work re-access that state, to reconnect to that state, and to continue your healing journey. And I love this because, again, even though I love the medicines, what's really important to me is that our spiritual work and our healing work isn't this whole separate life that we go to, or isn't these extreme experiences where we have to leave our life and go across the world and have these really big experiences and then come back and be like, what the fuck is going on? And then you have to try to figure out your life. And then you can't integrate the two together. And then it creates a separation where we actually end up running from life, or we end up like spiraling. And I don't really think that that's beneficial for us. So I'm always interested in how can we do this in a way that's most integrated. And so having support, having a tool like Shamanic Journey is going to help you so much more if you are working with psychedelics and want to bring them into your life and continue that healing journey without having to constantly leave your life and have these extreme experiences. So again, if you are interested, if you haven't done Shamanic Journey before and you're interested, then you can go to my website at holtonhealingarts.com and scroll down on the first page, and I have you'll find the link. You can just sign up and get that free guide. You also will find some drumming samples on my website, and of course, I host events throughout the year. So if you would like to learn more about that, you're always welcome to DM me, and I can give you some more information. I hope you enjoyed the session today, and I hope that you will take me up on the offer for that freebie, because it's a beautiful place to start your healing journey, to deepen your healing journey, to deepen your understanding of plant medicine work, and to have a shamanic experience. Thanks for joining me today. Have you been hearing the call to expand your spiritual gifts and step into your next level of conscious leadership? If you're a coach, healer, or a spiritual leader, you can learn more about Shaman School and growing your spiritual business on our website, holtonhealingarts.com. or send me a DM at Holton Healing Arts. Welcome to today's Member Query episode, where we explore questions about spiritual paths, intuitive gifts, growing a spiritual business, and shamanism. Do you have a question for us? Send us a DM at Holton Healing Arts. This question is from an Instagram follower, and the question is, where do I go, or what do I do if I just want to have a shamanic experience? And there are so many different avenues to experience shamanism. Where I recommend most people begin is simply through Shamanic Journey. So this is a practice that's kind of similar to meditation, but it's definitely a different practice. And in this process, you learn how to access the unseen realms or the spirit world. This will allow you to tap into it in lots of different ways, whether that means you're sitting down and doing a journey, or whether that means you're sitting next to a tree and you want to practice talking to that tree and learning to connect to its spirit. And what I find is that most of us have a lot of shamanic understandings or tendencies anyway, because it's just part of being human. Even if we've gotten very disconnected from nature, it's still in our bones and still in our blood. And oftentimes, even just after having one shamanic journey, you'll open up or tap into a whole lot of other experiences that maybe you had but didn't realize meant anything, but they do mean something. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Leading with Spirit. If you did, please share the link for this episode with your biggest takeaway, tagging me at Holton Healing Arts. It would also support me if you subscribed and left a rating and review of the show, so we can support more people living their highest purpose. Until next time, journey on.